Hola, buenos días. Soy Nico. Mucho gusto.
Come Wednesday, I'll be gone for a whole year. And I gotta go to rehab. And I'm trying to explain something hard. It's not been easy. I've tried to just refrain from drugs and stuff, and that's my battle. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to be famous. I don't want to be popular. I don't want to be cool. I just want to be free. I just want to be free. I just want to be fucking free.
So, I brought back the extended intro because people were like, oh, Nico, you shouldn't have changed it. I missed it. Blase, blase, blase. All right, you got what you wanted. But also, podcast comes out every Monday. First episode is out. I have to reiterate this because my last video got age restricted again because of the fight videos, because I wanted y'all to see the shenanigans. But yeah, if you like this kind of content, make sure to follow me at patreon.com/Nicosaesthetics for more exclusive videos, weekly lives, early access, and to be a part of the podcast. And now I'm done with the spiel, as I always do. So today we're going to be talking about crack gate. Nico, why'd you say it like that? Because I gotta get around censors, so I'm gonna be saying it like in stupid ways. I'm sorry. A lot of people are like, this should be a serious topic. Listen, YouTube be cracking down on me, and when it comes to my money, girl, y'all can get some humor because it's not about to affect this chick. Bills gotta be paid on the first of every month. But yeah, I wanna say for the person that stole Crackgate from me, because y'all know how I did Yardygate, I did Loadgate. Someone who does not like me, who talks mess about me consistently and watches my every move but has me blocked since I cleared them, use that, even though that's my thing. So I'm reclaiming my time. As Miss Maxine said, I'm reclaiming my time and I'm reclaiming my phrase. But yeah, we're here to talk about Crackgate and what it entails. So essentially the timeline is in an uproar because the conversation of hard substances has come up once again, and our community and the heterosexual community, if we're being quite frank, hates to address this issue. And I also hate to address it, not because I don't want it to be discussed, because it needs to be discussed, but because people usually take a holier than thou standpoint and shame those who suffer from addiction when they are suffering from an illness. As someone who has had rampant addiction issues within my own personal life, not me, but people, I don't want to put people on blast, people who I've known all my life, who have been in my life for as long as I've been a baby, you know, have had these issues. So I got to see it firsthand, and it is an illness. They cannot help it. It is not something that they can easily snap out of. And a lot of people think, oh, it's just as simple as putting it down. No, certain substances, when you use them, it literally rewires how your brain works. It's called chasing the dragon, where you are elevated, because I'm trying to avoid certain words, you're elevated for the first time you use this substance. And it is going to rewrite the way your brain works, and it is going to give you a euphoria that you will never be able to get again. And that's how people get addicted, because they continuously try to chase that one elevation that is never attainable again. So when we have these discussions, I have compassion, just because I've seen it firsthand. It's ruined the lives of people that are really dear to me, and I just want to bring awareness rather than, oh my God, you had, there are a lot of political correct words for this. You had a crackhead suck your I mean, it's like, yeah, we can kiki at the, oh my God, he brought out a pipe, because I've been in situations like that too, and I'll go into it later in this video as I usually do. But we still need to understand that this is a very serious situation, and it affects our community more than we know. And I mean, it also affects the heterosexual community, but our community in particular, because we are more compact. So when these things happen, it's more visible to us rather than to them. So this essentially happened because one of my mutuals, who is a really chill person, he ain't never in no drama, he never bothers nobody, he never has like static with people. I've never seen him going back and forth with people on the timeline. He decided to freely give this information that he was hooking up with somebody and they casually brought out a pipe and proceeded to use it and then give him the best film of his life. And he got a little defensive because people were dragging him, and I even told him, girl, delete this. There's nothing positive that is going to come out of this post in particular because people are going to drag you. But also, he basically said, at least I know who I'm sleeping with. Y'all have people who are on substances running in and out of you, you know, like a, what did he say? Something like a Target checkout lane. And y'all wouldn't be the wiser. And I'm like, that, I mean, technically it's true, because a lot of people think, oh, this would never happen. Oh, it's not, you know, gonna happen to me. People like that don't exist around me. You would be quite surprised. And I remember somebody else added another dialogue to it. He's a little ignorant and tends to get dragged. It's basically saying, you know, which one are y'all upset about? The hard substances, the fact that he was still down for head, et cetera, because when y'all link up with people off of apps late night, I got news for you, they're also on substances. And that's the thing, a lot of people are. A lot of people are, and I do an awkward giggle because I get nervous. That's like a nervous reflex. But a lot of people tend to be on apps are into like PNP. Nico, what does that mean? Party and play. Party. Who wants to do some partying? Like the emphasis on the T, it means Crystal M. Crystal M. I can't really say certain words. You know what I mean though. So it's actually very visible within our community because people wear it with a badge of honor because it apparently makes their super happy adult fun time sessions more enjoyable and last longer, but it also deteriorates them. And that's the part that we need to talk about, because yes, we could talk about the conflictions between consent and the PNP culture, because I remember when I responded to the tweet, people were saying, oh, we shouldn't be shaming or excommunicating people that are addicted. And I'm like, that's not necessarily what I'm saying. But also, they can't consent because they're under the influence of heavy substances. And I understand that he arrived at the super happy throat goat powwow sober and then proceeded to use his but that is still a conflicting energy, you know what I mean? Like, I personally would not feel comfortable doing that kind of thing just because, yes, you came here sober and you made this decision, but now you're like incoherent and not in your right mind. So I personally just would not have done it. So that's why it's a conflicting, you know, issue with that kind of interaction. But when we have these conversations, we also need to talk about how it is more common than you think, because I know that we've seen issues with celebrities such as, I believe Matthew Rush came forward about his Crystal M situation. I know Cash De Niro did. I inserted that clip at the beginning of the video. I believe Wes did as well, if not allegedly, but I believe that was the situation. If not allegedly, on him in particular, because the other two came out and openly spoke about it to bring awareness. Allegedly on him. But we think that just because these people are in the limelight, that this is not a normal day-to-day situation, this won't happen to us. But I can tell you from my own personal experiences where I've had friends with benefits, such as my friend with benefits, I'm not gonna name him, that I was friends with benefits for years. I had gotten into a relationship and we stopped meeting up for about 1.5 years. And I remember I got back in contact with him when we broke up. And I went to go see him and he was a lot skinnier than normal. And I'm like, ooh, I guess he's dieting or something. But when I walked into the room, I saw a pipe. Crystal M. Crystal M. And he was like, oh yeah, my friend just left. We were just smoking and chilling. And I'm just like, oh, well, I gotta go use the restroom. And I left because just the sight of it made me wildly uncomfortable, especially because I don't know how someone could watch you smoke that and then still be sexually aroused just because it has a chemical reaction when burned. So it lets off a pungent, gross odor. So I'm like, I can't do it. And I've also been in situations where I've been in the more, you know, frisky areas because people like to think that I'm like virginal for some reason because I hold intellectual conversations, even though on Patreon I go into detail about sexual exploration, sex positivity, and exploring different aspects of, intimacy. In my own personal experiences, I'm a very open person. It's always been on my Patreon from day one. So when I went to a super happy adult fun time party, because I was invited last minute and I was tipsy, I was like, you know what, why not? So we're all chilling, we're all talking, and they're like, okay, we're gonna bring out the stuff. And I'm like, oh, okay, oregano, yeah, let's turn up. So they brought out the oregano, and before I could roll up, they also brought out like pipes of shit. And it was the Crystal M and Croc pipes. And I was just like, oh no, it's time to go. Like because I've been in situations where people in my life have had these issues, I get very anxious and nervous whenever somebody just casually brings that shit out. Just because I know what it does to you. I know how it derails your life. And that's the thing. People like to equate oregano, for example, grass, to crack, or, they like to equate it to those. And I'm like, anything in life can be addictive. You can get a food addiction. You can get a sugar addiction. You can get a sex addiction. I understand that a lot of people like to combat the ideas of sex addiction as society progresses because, the sexual education also progresses. But people, when I had this conversation around the original Low Gate, actually said, no, I've had sex addiction where my entire life was consumed by sex and I had to go to therapy. I had to go to rehab. I had to get actual clinical help to calm myself from having this as my sole objective. And that's why I say I believe it still exists. I'm not gonna put labels on people anymore because I can't identify you with anything, but I do believe that situation exists because anything can be addictive. I've met people who smoke oregano, who can't eat without smoking up first, who can't sleep without a joint, it happens. So if food can be addictive, if oregano can be addictive, if those other hard substances can be addictive, so can sex because it releases endorphins and joy. It's blatant. But yeah, so point is, I left because I know what these situations can do, and I don't believe in equating oregano to those harder substances just because they actually change the way your brain is chemically. Oregano does not do that. You just have to have an addictive personality to get addicted to oregano. But beyond that, I also want to have the conversation of why do we not address it? Like in our community, the only time we can really have these conversations is when somebody bravely shares a little too much on the timeline and people start dragging them, and it opens a slightly broader dialogue, but it's usually just people, oh, I would never, and oh, this couldn't be me, and oh, this couldn't be me. Meanwhile, they're casting this judgment, but when they go out, they do G. Nico, what is G? Circuit substances. So G is like a date R substance. So if you take too much, you will pass out. It gives you a slightly lucid state. I personally do not use that. There is ketamine. Nico, what is ketamine? A horse tranquilizer. A lot of the art girlies love to do that one. I'm just like, I couldn't imagine just numbing myself to the point that I could not move. But a lot of people like to do that. There's a lot more substances that are normalized within our community. So I understand the notion of you shouldn't be casting judgment on people that do or because you do your own thing. We all have our own vices. And I also want to talk about the high horse that people that do, they like to take because, girl, it's powdered crack. It's the same compound. It's just slightly altered to be powdered and snortable. I wish that we would have that conversation more often because people are like, oh, it's a different tax bracket. Because that's what he said too. It's a different tax bracket. Oh, you shouldn't be trying to. No, girl. It's the exact same substance, just in powdered and slightly altered. Do your research. Look at that chemical compound. It's the same thing. So that's why when people are like, oh, I make too much money, like Whitney. I don't do crack. I make too much money to do crack. Girl, that's powdered crack, if we're being quite honest. But yeah, so I just wanted to have this conversation to say that when we address these situations, we should have a little more compassion for people that are actively addicted to these substances, but we should also have an understanding that it is beyond their control after the first time. We don't know how people were introduced to it. Maybe they did it willingly, but as we saw with DMX, there was a blunt that was lined with something and he had no clue what was happening. So I mean, it happens. It happens more than you think. People all around you could be addicted to substances and you would never know. So when we're having these conversations, just try to have a little more compassion, but we should also address the substances within our community, such as the PNP community, such as the conflicting opinion of consent once you're under these hard substances, how easy it is to obtain these things in our close circle, because that's the thing. People think, oh, it's just the white girlies, it's just no. That party that I was at where they started bringing out the pipes, black girls. It was the black girlies. Nico, I understand people think I'm like Tamara Mowry, but I really just stick with like black or brown people of color for the most part because I try to avoid microaggressions. So I've seen things from people that look like me and you. And people think that it's just so far removed, but girl, it's within our community and we kind of just need to talk about this at some point. But yeah, thank you for listening. What did you think about Crackgate? What do you think about the issue of substances running rampant within our community and becoming a part of the culture at this point? Because GK, all that other stuff, that's new to me. That's new, and I understand, like, you know, substances have been in our community for years, but those are newer ones. They're just as dangerous. They're just as addictive. Like, I remember one of my friends, he became a circuit gay, and he started doing K. He tried crystal. He tried, you know, all these party favors, and he hasn't necessarily been right since. That's just a friend that I've had for like the last few years who has dramatically altered his life because of it. But I've also had people in my own personal life that have had alcoholism, you know, hard medical substances. Like, it's just around us at every corner, and we just refuse to address it head on, and we refuse to give compassion to those who are affected by it. And we should not be focusing on shaming them. We should not be focusing on criminalizing them or excommunicating them. We should be focusing on rehabilitation and actual bettering of their life, because when we talk about these situations such as like Euphoria, people are upset about the other themes in the show, but when it comes to addiction, I really believe that show got it head on. Just because you could see in Rue's eyes that she was not on cloud nine, she was not, you know, just ecstatic to be doing these things. She hated herself every step of the way. There is a form of self-resentment. There is a form of loathing of yourself to the point that you're trying to escape. And once you find this escape in this substance, it just spirals because you want to do better. You want to be able to return to your normal life. You want to be able to quit and to keep it moving, but you're just not able to because of your own mind. Imagine being a prisoner in your own body, and the only thing that can set you free is another fix that's going to destroy you even more. It's just very sad, and I understand it's hard to talk about, but I definitely believe that it's something that we should address at some point. But yeah, definitely drop your opinions down below. Boop.
And once again, a quick thank you to all my patrons on Patreon, and a quick shout out to my third eye tier patrons. Your support means everything to me and helps me do this a lot more smoothly. I will also be listing this week's live stream topic in case anybody wants to join in on the fun. I will see you guys there.